All right, so moving on to talking about Major on the Deaf Cure, I'm going to talk about the Netflix movie, The Cloverfield Paradox. And there was a lot of discussion about this movie before it came out as far as when it would be coming out and that the rights would be given to Netflix. Like, is it even going to be released to theaters? And the marketing campaign for this movie, a lot of it is the same way it was kind of with 10 Cloverfield Lane, of just a lot of mystery surrounding it. Like, what is this movie about? A lot of kind of hidden in shadows. And that almost kind of works to Cloverfield's benefit. Like, I was a big fan of 10 Cloverfield Lane. I think it was a big surprise the year it came out. Yeah, and, that was really great. And it's kind of the similar marketing strategy here that went on with the Cloverfield Paradox. Because it dropped right after actually dropped the same day as the Super Bowl, just after the game. And they just released it on Netflix. Everybody went like, oh, shit, they just dropped it. I mean, just like that. And the premise of this is, so a team of scientists go up in space, orbiting planet Earth, which is on the brink of war because there's a major energy crisis. And they're trying to solve that energy crisis. And that's the basic setup, is they go into space to try to solve this energy crisis that's having Earth almost on the brink of a war between all these, different countries. And in it, you got people from all these different nations. In it, you have people like Gugu Mbatha-Raw. She represents England. More like the United Kingdom. She represents the United Kingdom. You have David Oyelowo. You have Daniel Bruhl. You got John Ortiz, Chris O'Dowd, Askell Henney. You got Zhang Ziyi. You also have Elizabeth Debicki, Roger Davies. So you got a real nice all-star cast of people here, like really, really big, recognizable names. Because people, David Oyelowo, he was in Selma, Martin Luther King. Daniel Bruhl, he was, Baron Zemo. Who actually, Darren Bull looks kind of swole in this movie. I was like, damn, he actually looked like he packed on some muscle and everything. Like, he kind of like...
He's always looked kind of buff, like, or just like, if not buff, then just kind of chunky and built.
Yeah, like, because he kind of looks kind of big in this. I was like, damn, he kind of, worked out or lift some weights. I was like, hey, man, like, because he can't even barely put his shoulders down in one scene. I was like, he must have did some push-ups before that. John Ortiz, he was in Fast and Furious and Fast and Furious 6. He was also in Carlito's Way, 1993, American Gangster, Alien vs. Predator Requiem. And Zhang Zi, she was the villain in Rush Hour 2, and she was also in House of Flying Daggers. And then people know Chris O'Dowd. He was in IT Crowd. People know him from that. So I would say that the film mainly follows Gugu Mbatha-Raw. She's the main lead of the film. She's the only character that's really afforded much of a backstory. You don't really get to know really much of the other characters before stuff really happens, but stuff really goes on. And I think Gugu, she does a really nice job. I think she's the one that, because the more of the focus of the story is with her more than the rest of the crew. And I think she does a very good job handling that, because she has to decide on whether or not to stay home or to go on the mission. And the movie opens up with her talking to her husband about, whether or not she wants to go on this mission or not. And I think the film has very interesting concepts and themes that are just really good sci-fi world building stuff that I'm very into. Different realities, dimensions, stuff that I'm very intrigued by. But it's just where the execution comes that's the problem. Because I think that it has a very predictable story. I think it's a very cliche horror space station type film. Insert Alien, insert Sunshine, Event Horizon. Watching the film, it felt very much like the movie that came out, I believe last year it came out. It was a movie with Jake Gyllenhaal and Ryan Reynolds, Life. Which Life in itself, that movie was just an Alien ripoff. A lot of people, knocked on that movie for being an Alien ripoff, which I actually think we reviewed on the show. And I think, if I remember correctly, I said that the movie was kind of fun for what it was. And, it's a ripoff of all these things. You get some good performances, but essentially it's kind of wearing that on the sleeve. And if you take it as a kind of a B movie, you'll maybe enjoy Life. I apply a little bit to that as well because I think that you had some great, but I think with this movie you had better potential than you did with Life, because Life is just like an alien kind of species just attacking the crew.
It's basically we found life outside of Earth. Now what?
Yeah, you know what I mean. So that's kind of
Could have gone into 1,000 different directions. Could have been really interesting, but it's just like nope, just straight up horror.
Yeah, and that's what kind of this movie does. It's like you do some interesting concepts here, because like I said, they're trying to supply energy to the Earth to help it, and they end up knocking themselves into another reality, and so it's kind of the whole idea of instead of a alien attacking the ship, it's the reality and the ship that's attacking the crew, and
Yeah, and I've made a speculation myself, and I know some other people have said it themselves as well. Some people have tried to say that they put themselves into another reality, and then that another reality, like it was a shift from left to right or something like that.
right,
Like they jumped over there to somewhere, and then some other entity jumped into their old universe.
It seemed like because we're about to, because I want to spoil this movie, talk about it. If you want to cut out because you didn't see it, if you want to like cut out a little bit, or I'll tell you when to come back in if you want to.
By all means.
If you don't care about spoilers, so I think it was more of the two realities crashing in on each other because you see a scene with I think her name is Elizabeth Debicki. People might know her. She was in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. She was the villain in that movie. And okay. she shows up, and like I said, so them firing the beam, they have an accident on the ship, which causes them to collide with another reality, another dimension, and they found her inside of a wall because the reality she was in collided with their reality, and so I took it as that crew that she was a part of, that they kind of wiped them out, and they just completely wiped them out. Because you hear that they say like the pieces of the ship fell into the water. Because when they actually traveled to the Earth that the woman was from, the pieces of that ship fell into the water. That's just the way I took it.
I took it the same way, and then I thought about it later. Like, why is their ship not in the same spot then? Like, I would imagine that they would have crashed into it and like stayed there. But apparently, I don't know. It's a weird way they tried to portray that. Like they went at warp speed and just went through it, and is that how it happened?
I would assume so, because it kind of seems like I said, the reality is collapsing on itself. Like you see the ship, like there's a scene where Chris O'Dowd, he gets his arm ripped off by the ship, and it's still moving. So I don't. And
it has personality.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So you see it writing a message. Like I don't know if that's supposed to mean that. So does that mean that that his arm is still attached to another person, to himself in this world, or like I didn't know what that really.
Well, that whole scene could have just been a movie in itself.
Yeah,
it could have.
That whole idea of that arm's gone. Oh shoot, what do I do? Oh, but now since it's been on the other side, it then connects to a being on another side, and oh crap! Now we just explored the infinite possibilities of that could have been a nice 20-minute movie.
Yeah,
and been a really trippy, weirding out movie.
Because I think that this is the most expensive Black Mirror episode I've ever seen.
Thank you. I thought that the whole time.
They have a few people from Black Mirror.
Yeah, because Gugu Mbatha, she was in Black Mirror, and yeah, this is the most expensive Black Mirror episode I've ever seen. But this is probably one of the worst Cloverfield movies, because it's like I think some interesting concepts here. If this was like an hour, or maybe just even shorter than that, okay, it could kind of go out on that being like a little bit of a Black Mirror episode, but you can kind of see why it was put to Netflix, because this is just a basic kind of horror space movie. It's science fiction movie. It's nothing special about it. It really wastes its all-star cast because I say you got some really great talented actors here. I think that a lot of the humor in the movie feels just really out of place. Like Chris O'Dowd, he's the comedic relief, because he was in the IT crowd and stuff. That's what people know him from. So he tries to deliver a lot of jokes that don't work at all. Like none of the stuff he says works.
I'm sorry, man. Call me corny, but I love that guy. Like, there were like at least a good 2-3 moments where I said something to the screen, and I will always give a movie kudos for this, extra points or whatever it may be, for addressing something that I vocally say at the screen, and then they say it like 2 seconds later. Because they did that a lot during this movie, and he was one of the main people to do it. Like, well, we're gonna I can't remember what he said. He said, "What are we gonna cut up in a dead person's body or something?" What did he say? Yeah, we're gonna use equipment from the stomach to save the day.
Oh yeah, he does say that. I don't know. I thought a lot of stuff he said was just out of place, and a lot of the humor just didn't work. Like for instance, like there's a character that dies, and they spit up worms, and he's like, "I guess I found the worms," and it's like, that just bombed for me. A lot of stuff he says.
Wait, what?
Oh, I missed that one. That was one of the ones I missed.
Because there's something that happens with a character in Worms. Because like I said, the world is kind of colliding together, and like one moment, I guess you could be standing in a part of the ship, and then something could happen, and then something could go awry with the ship.
That seems actually very interesting. It's a shame that I'm hearing that it's not really all that well put together.
It is. It's like I said, it's very interesting concepts, very interesting world, but they don't do anything with that concept of like this reality of like one moment you could be doing this, but this other thing could be happening because in another reality, like this thing is also happening because you're occupying the same space. That is incredibly very interesting. They don't do anything with that stuff at all, and then. They have, like I said, Gugu and Batara, they follow her through most of the movie and follow her family. And they do this kind of weak B storyline with her husband as far as him trying to keep getting in contact with her and trying to, message her. And you see the city that...
It seems like one of the movies that shouldn't even bother with, like, that kind of thing.
Yeah, because
it should just go head over heels for just hard, like... almost fantasy level science of what if.
Yeah,
but it should just be the characters in the. You have a pool of characters, maybe 3 or 4. All right, go. This is what happens to them.
Yeah, but we have to suffer through kind of this really weak B storyline because, her husband's on Earth. I get kind of why maybe they cut to him because it's to show what happens on Earth really and what Earth is going through. Because I said there's a big energy crisis. That the Earth is going through, and there's kind of a bunch of wars breaking out, things like that. And you see her husband kind of driving around, and then he meets like this random girl, this like a house that's been destroyed, and meets this random girl, and he takes her in, and they find like this bunker or something like that. Because like I said, we're in spoilers. Because. So them firing like this energy into the Earth to try to power it, because it's like this big beam,
horribly backfires.
Yeah, and they basically rip a hole in the dimension, and I guess that's the explanation they give for why the monsters are in Cloverfield. That's the reason.
I love how they have a guy. He has a book called The Cloverfield Paradox that introduced the name of the movie, and he's on the news talking to some news anchor or whatever. It seems like they're doing like an RT America news segment with their main female anchor, as well as I think his name is Lionel. I don't know his last name, but they seem like the same personalities or whatever. He's like, yeah, we're gonna cause a ripple in space. Like we might lead open to demons, monsters. Reality will collapse on itself. Time and space, nothing will be as it was.
Yeah. So
this kind of reminds me of that moment in Lego Batman. Very early in the movie when he's explaining, or very late we are literally just on top of very flimsy boards. If anything explodes around it, we'll fall into an oblivious state, void. Good luck. That just seems like the kind of thing like I'm just gonna make shit up. Just why not? Consequences.
Well, for the record, Bill Nye has actually because I saw a video on this before I jumped in the call with you guys. Bill Nye is actually going on air on some news network or something, saying the exact same thing that the guy was saying, other than the demons part, of course.
It may mean we'd be able to unlock limitless energy. Let me just put it that way. It may be that we would understand the next secret of the universe, that we would know we'd be another step closer to knowing where we came from.
Awesome. Can't wait.
Can't wait for it.
And that guy, because yeah, like I said, they interview somebody. That's Donald Logue, who people know him. He plays Harvey Bullock in Gotham. He was also in Law and Order Special Victims Unit. He was on that show as well. Yeah, and I mean, it's basically foreshadowing the whole movie. You know, basically of like, yeah, you know, rip a hole in the dimension and cause monsters to come out, and like, so that's the explanation they give for why the monsters are here. I mean, it kind of just seems like, yeah, okay. I mean, like, this was a great concept. It was great, interesting. I could see on paper it working, but like none of it just comes together. Like a lot of, like, again, like I said, it's cliche horror movie stuff of, you know, one of the crew members, they go crazy and try to kill the other crew members, like in Sunshine. You know, like there's another character that happens. They're also trying to kill the crew. One of them get picked off one by one. The only real good elements of the movie, I think, is Gugu Mbatha-Raw, because I think she gives a very emotional performance, because she lost her kids in a fire, and she has to make a decision on this other reality of what she wants to do, and I think that's very interesting. I think that kind of was like, okay, that's an emotional thing. I mean, what did you think about that element there in the 90s? Because a lot of people were calling her dumb for like making that decision she does. I mean, you know, what do you think about that at all?
For wanting to be with her family?
Yeah.
I mean, the funniest part is that the universe wanted her to do that, basically. Like, both universes, I should say, wanted her to do that. Her husband in that universe that she wanted to go to probably wanted a threesome. He's like, yeah, okay, I get 2 wives. The kids get 3 parents. We can all work this out together. That would be a beautiful situation in my mind if I was the guy. The other guy was like, what is she doing here? Like, get her back. Get her the fuck away. What are you doing? So, I don't know. Like, she technically did the right thing by trying to save her own universe. Kind of leaving one to damnation because, oh man, it's so crazy.
No, because she sends information to herself on the ground saying of like, okay, this is what you got to do.
No, but I agree with you. Like, I know what you mean. But the taller white blonde lady, I can't remember her name off the top of my head.
Right.
She told the one from that universe. She said, "Yeah, if you guys leave and take your ship, we won't have the energy to help our crisis, and we're also at war with each other,
Right.
and it's gonna take us forever to build this ship again. So by the time that happens, we're gonna just destroy each other."
Right. Yeah, because her character name was Elizabeth Debicki. Mina Jensen is her name. Yeah. Okay. So I see your point. Yeah. That because
So
that reality
at this point, they're both. Go ahead.
That reality is, they say, what, 40 months ahead, right?
I actually haven't found out the timelines. I will say this much: I noticed that on Google's, I hate saying the name, and I hope I'm not messing that up. But on her husband's phone on Earth, the first reality, or whatever you want to call this stuff at this point, he had his phone, and it said 7G to the top left.
Oh, really? Okay, missed that.
Yeah, I looked at that. I'm like, 7G. Okay, we're working on getting 5G for 2018. We might have to wait till 2019. So how far in the future is this? And I speculated during the earlier parts of the movie that it was like 2020 or something, or 2025. And then later on, I started thinking, okay, maybe it's 2030. I looked up a video. Somebody said 2028, so it was like right there in the middle. They're speculating the same thing.
Okay. Huh. Okay. Very. Yeah. Huh. That's interesting. I didn't notice that. Oh, that's a good pickup there.
Oh yeah, when it comes to the technology in this, man, I'm loving it so much. Like the glass windows that were actually digital screens. I love that so much. The spacesuits are very on point with what we're working on. I don't even know if we have them yet, because I remember they introduced them early 2017 for NASA. They had a big blue jumpsuit for NASA, and the suits in the movie itself, Cloverfield Paradox, They look like the 2.0 version of that. So it looks like we're working our way up to that. Just the 3D printer, man. The fucking 3D printer was so fast. They 3D printed a bagel. They 3D printed a gun. That thing was done in like 10 seconds flat.
Oh yeah, there's a 3D print in the movie, which is actually pretty cool. They like can 3D print anything, I guess, like anything you ask for, they can just do it. That's pretty cool. I like that. And all the characters being from different nations, and the fact that, like I said, the nation's almost on the brink of war. That's very kind of interesting. Like all these people, like there's a feud going on between Daniel Bruhl and between the ice cold Henny character Volkov. Because one's from
Germany and Russia.
Germany, and one's from Russia, and they say, hey, Russia's starving right now, and maybe you're doing that on purpose because you're from Germany and you want Russia to die out. That's also a great element in there that I think they don't really explore enough. The fact that all these people from different nations, all these people are trying to, get at each other.
I think they explored it enough. Like they had a moment where they said, okay, there's war on the ground. All of our nations are going against each other. Let's not do it to ourselves. Let's go down there and help them. Like, do we go down there and help them, or do we go down back to where we came from and help our own universe? So I feel like they addressed it enough. Like it could have been more done, I will admit.
Yeah. So what's your final rating for the film?
My final rating would be a tune in. Like, in all honesty, I enjoyed it. It was like you said, it was the most expensive Black Mirror episode ever.
Okay. They lucky this is on Netflix, and they are real lucky, because like I mean, they kind of knew what they were doing. Good, they put it on Netflix because they probably knew, like, okay, yeah, this probably ain't nobody gonna like, because it's getting scathing reviews. I'm telling you, like, yeah,
I've been seeing.
Yeah, like even fan reaction from it. I've been seeing on Facebook all day. A lot of people not really messing with this all that much. Critics, they're not really digging it that much either. Yeah, because this is getting some scathing reviews there. I mean, I think this is a lesser version of Life, which I gave okay, it's a B movie. I think it's a lesser version of that. Maybe I think it's lucky it's on Netflix. So
yeah,
I would agree. I give it a tune in for that, just to watch it on Netflix, just to see it, even if just to see what you expect. I don't think it's god awful or terrible. I just think it's just meh. It's just subpar horror things. And if you're expecting
that in itself is a shame.
Yeah, because if you're expecting the same level of quality you got from something like 10 Cloverfield Lane or even the first Cloverfield, I think you're gonna be sadly disappointed. What were you gonna say, 90s?
I would actually place it. I would place it as the second best. 10 Cloverfield Lane is the best, of course. I think it might just be better than the original Cloverfield, and I think the original Cloverfield may not suffer, I should say, but maybe more of like a gleamy-eyed view because it was the first in the series.
Okay, interesting. Okay, do you think the elements of the sci-fi elements, the world-building elements of Paradox are better than Cloverfield? Is that why you give it an edge over it?
I guess I do, because I love sci-fi, and the first one was just more of a regular film with they do the same thing with each one, where it's like, yeah, it's a regular film with whatever type of film it is. It's just a regular film, and then hey, kaiju just out of nowhere.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, with this one, I will say that it's the catalyst of it all. When you watch it, you will understand. Oh, then again, after this conversation, you may understand. But is the catalyst of it all? You really can't say if it's a prequel or a sequel, because at this point, time doesn't really exist.
Right.
I really love it for what it is.
Oh, okay.
A low tune in, but a good one.
Yeah. I'd say low tune in. Yeah. Hello, thanks for checking out our content. If you liked it, let us know, and if you didn't, let us know that as well. If you want to see more content, we post every Saturday on SoundCloud and YouTube at The Afternoon Tune. You can also find us through various social medias, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, all one word at The Afternoon Tune. And if you don't deal with any of that social media stuff, you can also find us through our email at theafternoontune@gmail.com. And don't forget to always stay tuned.